Welcome, Jamie.
Hi there.
I'm so happy to have you on.
So nice to be on. Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Yeah. So, Jamie, let's talk a little bit about, I know we've worked together for a couple years now, but I don't know that we ever touched on how you got started with horses and your interactions with horses. So what's your beginning journey with the equines?
So I always loved horses as a little girl. Like I just instantly, they were my animal. And so I remember being, maybe 6, 7 years old, sitting on my bedroom floor. I had this really great horse book. I actually still have it. I've given it to my daughter. And I would just look through at all the breeds and all the tack. And I wasn't riding, didn't, of course, at that time have my own horse. And so it was just a dream. So I played with horses. I read about horses. And then when I was probably around 11 or 12, my parents gifted me riding lessons, not too far from my home. So that was kind of the beginning of the journey. I did wind up stopping probably around the time I went away to college. And so when I turned 40, like 4-ish years ago, I said, I'm going to start riding again. It was a really great book I read called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And in the beginning, she talks about why do we step away from things that we loved as children? Why are we walking around as adults without joy and without doing things we love? So when I turned 40, that was just a big turning point for me. And I started riding again. My career took a little bit of a shift. Became Reiki certified, Reiki master teacher, branched into the animal Reiki piece because I absolutely love and adore animals. Been leasing a horse for the last couple of years. And so it's been like, it's been like a dream come true, a little girl's dream come true.
That's awesome. I love that. What would you say, like being back in with horses after having some time off? What would you say has been like your overall experience in the horse industry? Like, what are some of your observations and what are some of your experiences within the horse world right now?
I love horse people. I think horse people are their own breed in themselves. So it's just, I'm biased, but I think it's just a really incredible group of people to be around. I think we think a little bit differently. We notice things differently. Even if somebody hasn't quite been able to put their finger on the energetics of why they love horses or what they're doing with horses, when you are around horses, working with horses, there's so much unspoken energetics that runs through that. I've had some very good experiences. I think people are kind, people are generous, people are loving. They care about the well-being of these animals. Obviously, I mean, there's bad apples in every bunch. I mean, in any arena. But it's been refreshing. It's been refreshing. And my daughter is involved in competitive riding. And I think for children, I was just talking about this with another mom. There's something really wholesome about the horse kids that in today's world, many of us parents are grasping to hold on to with everything that swirls around, I think, in our society today. Yeah, I think that the horse industry on a whole is a really special and magical place to be.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And so you were talking about how you're doing Reiki, you're a Reiki master, and
Yes.
You've been working with horses, but you also do a bit of coaching as well, correct?
I do.
Awesome. And going back to like the Reiki aspect and maybe even the coaching aspect, and maybe we can kind of intertwine the two of them. I know they're kind of separate entities, but I know overall in the horse world, a lot of people have kind of a stigma to certain things like Reiki, or you never hear about horse business people having coaches themselves. You hear about instructors and that whole thing, but what about instructors like coaching aspects? So do you come across like stigmas with either one, and how have you been able to overcome those stigmas?
That's such a great question. I think Reiki in general has some really interesting stigmas attached to it, and one of the most common ones I hear, well, actually, let's back up, and some people may not even know what Reiki is. Reiki, it was founded by Dr. Usui in Japan, and it is an energy healing technique that promotes relaxation, reduces stress and anxiety through gentle touch, sometimes even no touch. people often think like, okay, my body's sore, I need a massage, or I have something out of place, I need a chiropractor. They want the cause and effect really direct and tangible and noticeable. And so a lot of people, until they learn about Reiki, have a hard time understanding why or how it would work. I started Reiki for myself, my family, for my animals. I wanted yet another tool. I've been using some alternative healing modalities for the last 15 years or so. And so I was ready to deepen my own journey with that. Had heard some really good things from people that I trust and I look up to, mentors, coaches of my own. And so I started it just with myself in mind. And that was level 1. And then I moved on to level 2, where I opened my Reiki practice, moved on to level 3 as a Reiki master, and then 3B, which is Reiki master teacher. And then through that journey, I said, ooh, I want to learn more about animals. So I brought in an incredible mentor that helped me, a really immersive training, learning about the different nuances working with animals, because it's different than putting someone on a table or going up to a friend on your couch and giving Reiki. But I never claimed to be the healer, because our bodies know how to heal. The body knows how to heal. We cut our finger, or if a horse, gets a little gash on the back of its leg, look at what happens. Innately, we as creatures know how to heal. So Reiki helps to promote relaxation, reduce that stress and anxiety so that healing can take place. It's almost like taking if you picture a beaver has come in and gunked up the pond, the river, and now there's a big pool. If we were to go there and remove the dam and remove the sticks and the mud, the river's going to start to flow again. So that's really what a Reiki practitioner does, is they're there with the training, knowing how to do that, to kind of move the sticks and move the mud out of the way.
I love
There are some funny stigmas, I think, that go along with Reiki, like it's this woo-woo practice that doesn't work. Or I've also heard very religious people say that it's like anti-religion or even anti-Christian. I mean, I've seen some really nasty things said about it and spoken about it. What's fascinating is when Dr. Yasui, you're getting schooled on Reiki a little bit.
I love this. No, this is amazing.
When Dr. Yasui was looking for a way to heal. And so I teach this when I teach Reiki, the history of Reiki. The history was fascinating. And I remember when I learned it, I was kind of blown away.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he went up to a mountaintop for 21 days and he was looking for answers. And one of the questions he asked was, how did Jesus heal? How did that happen? And I think about, we break a bone, the bone heals, right? Yeah, we might need to like immobilize it or whatever. And doctors are there to help us. But for the most part, it's what's going on inside that really creates the healing. He also asked, like, how did Buddha heal? So he looked to many of these spiritual leaders to find these answers. And then through his own stillness and his own meditation and his own 21-day journey on the top of this mountain, he really downloaded this system that is now taught here. I'm not Japanese, clearly. I always tell my students that as somebody here in America who does not have Japanese lineage, I take this very, very seriously and respectfully. So teaching the history is very important. Teaching like the reverence of the origins, I think, is really important, because like everything, we bring it here to America and it shifts and it changes. And so Americanizing things isn't always, in my opinion, like the best. I don't think it's really a compliment, right? So anyway, for Reiki, there's all types of stigma out there. And, I've seen some nasty things written about it and spoken about it. And I think it comes from a place of just not knowing, a lack of education, and a lack of experiencing it themselves. I don't think we need to put religion in one box and energetic healing in another box. I think they're this. That's how
I love that perspective. I absolutely think that's a beautiful mindset to adopt, because sometimes too, like even in like traditional practices, you don't always get the same growth or the same result unless you open, right? And I feel like when you're open, then you're also open to receiving whatever, if it's healing or clarity or change of physiology, the more you're open and the more you can expand and grow, the more resolution and solution comes to you. And so I think that that's an absolute beautiful description of, and something that we can all adopt. I think that's absolutely phenomenal. That's a great answer.
Thank you. And you had also asked about the coaching aspect. Are there any, stigmas or reservations there? Some of us, I think, I'm speaking from experience, don't realize we need a coach until we've been working with the coach. And then it's like, aha. So I have found, I've been working with mentors and coaches very directly, intentionally for the last 12 years or so. And I have found that coaches have helped me create achievable outcomes in both life and business. They help provide accountability and like a fresh perspective. Coaches help us see blind spots. I mean, we all have blind spots. And so a coach that we trust, that we've built rapport with, can come in and say, have you noticed this? Or is it okay if I point out something that I've noticed? And so I think when that happens, like you just said, it like the walls can come down and now you're open to that next up leveling of growth in life or in business. And we could be talking about horse business or really any type of progression or any type of journey, right? The other thing a coach does that most people don't realize, and I know, Kay, you work as a coach and you have amazing coaches yourself, is that coaches help speed up the learning curve. Coaches help bend time. So what might take someone 2 years learning on your own, a coach can help you get there. I mean, I'm not going to like promise results of time here, but you know what I mean? A coach can teach you something. You're like, aha, that light bulb goes on so much quicker. And in 6 weeks, you're like, oh, you're up and running versus taking 2 years of fiddling around and trying to figure something out on your own. Personally, I help clients work through subconscious blocks. I help them make progress that they otherwise may not make on their own. And I know that through proof because I've been working with clients now long enough to receive the testimonials, to see the progress that they've made. And so it's like the proof is in the pudding. And that's what I'm saying, where I think some people don't realize they need a coach until they're working with one. It can be a little scary to make an investment into a coach. There's a lot of reservations that come up for some people as to why they don't need one. Oh, I can do this myself. There's some pride.
Yeah.
So I think that being coachable in life and in business is one of the biggest things that all of us can do for ourselves. Having somebody that's walked the path before you in some capacity to take your hand. You're not doing it alone. You've got a buddy in your back pocket.
Yeah.
And I know in my own business, I was just saying this to my husband literally yesterday. I can do it alone. I thrive when I have somebody in my back pocket helping me. My accountability is better. My productivity is better.
Your focus is better. Because sometimes it gets really foggy up here. And when we have somebody next to us that can kind of pull those parts away, it's like the fog clears. We have
100%.
so much more clarity. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that, making an initial investment into a coach, like, especially if you're in business, you see that pay you back. Like that investment, you get a return on that investment. And even if you were working with a coach for non-business type things, mindset, or maybe a health goal, it's result driven. So not like, let's just get together and chat. Like there are outcomes that are set and then there's action steps that are put into place. And you have someone there, like I said, like a buddy in your back pocket holding your hand. So I think that I've heard people say, I don't need a coach, or what's a coach for? Again, I think it's coming from a lack of education and having experienced it themselves.
Well, I think too, people don't realize that the best of the best in businesses, like the Tony Robbinses of the world, or the Elon Musks, or, the people that are really, really exponentially, the Jeff Bezos, like these people have coaching. They don't get to the top by themselves. They have people that are phenomenal in their genre of business, because, you have to understand and have some self-awareness that you're not great at everything. And that's why businesses thrive, because they hire out for what they're not good at. So having a coach can really help you to implement what you're great at and what you should focus on, and then maybe delegate the rest.
100%.
Coaches have always helped me with that. I mean, that's something that I didn't know I needed to do as a business owner. And when I implemented it, it shifted everything.
Exactly. There was a coach that I worked with very early on in my entrepreneurial career, and he is extremely successful, like probably like multi-billionaire. And so I went to a high figure earner summit out in Vegas, sitting in this room. I mean, you also want to put yourself around people that have what you want. So I was like, I I was not a 7-figure earner by any stretch, but I was like, I'm going to sit in this room amongst the multi-millionaires. I want to absorb what they're talking about, how they operate, how they hold themselves, all of it. And he shared with us that he, just that year alone, and this was 8 years ago, that he had spent $600,000 on his own personal development and his own coach. So, I mean, scale that to what he must be, right, like making. And I think that when we look at, some people get funny talking about money and investing, but if you were to scale that down, spending a smaller, obviously not most of us are not out the gate spending $600,000 on our coaches.
Right.
But someone like those names that you mentioned absolutely are.
Right. And I mean, there are coaches that are affordable out there. There are coaches that it's under $200 a month or under $400 a month. And if that can get you an extra couple $1,000s a month to take care of your horses or to take care of your family, I mean, that's an investment in a lifetime that's worthwhile. True.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think when we look at that impact, to me, the dollars coming in, and a lot of people in the healing space, in the Reiki space, in the energetic space, sometimes have, I don't want to generalize too much, but I've seen this enough to, I think, it's safe to say, sometimes have holdups about making money. They have a hard time valuing themselves or charging what they're really worth. Most of us have gone through schooling and education. Yes, could you get a coach for under $200 a month? Sure. But I mean, I also would love to remind everybody that when you have a coach with a higher price point, like, you are getting their knowledge. They have taken courses, they've invested in themselves. So I think you really do get what you pay for. You're not going to find a coach that's charging a little bit more than that who does not have the backing, the track record, right? But with the hangups of money and investing, it's when you're able to bring in more, that is a direct correlation to how many lives you're touching.
Yep.
So that number, for anyone out there that's uncomfortable about making money, or they have stories or mindsets in their mind about success, the higher your check is every month, that is a direct correlation to your impact in the world around you. And especially as we're talking about it here in the amazing horse space, we are shifting lives. We are making a difference in animals' lives, in people's lives, and our world needs that.
It's true. And I honestly think that, like, people have like a taboo around money, or the conversations around money. And the truth of it is, like, money is just an exchange of value. When people think, oh, I want to be wealthy, or I want to be this, you don't want, 100, pieces of paper with dead guys on them. That's not really what you want. You want what money can offer you, which is freedom, exposure, a change in status. You want the emotion that comes with money, but truthfully, money is just an exchange of value. It's you.
Yeah, and it's an exchange of energy.
100%. And it's an exchange of energy. And in your mind, it almost allows you to put what you're offering the world, or offering your clients, or offering your community, something that's not easily accessible from other people necessarily, because every individual is their authentic, they have their authentic offering. And so when you exchange that and you get money in return, it's almost like, it's thank you for the offer and thank you for the value that you just gave, because I see the value. So I think when people make that shift, I know for me, I'm like, as I doing dentistry, doing coaching, when I come and do my thing, yes, I have an education, I have a history. I've been doing it for over a decade, working with horses for 2 decades, but it's not, for me, it's like making a shift and making a change and offering a result, getting a result for somebody. To me, like, if I could make a living off of smiles, that's how I look at money. Money is a smile, really. It's just something giving you the response of you helping. So I think when I shifted that, for me, it changed everything. And I'm like, got it. So the more I give, the more smiles I get. So it's like you push to give more than receive, but then you receive abundance after that,
100%. And it's funny you said, like, the papers with the dead guys, because an analogy I use with clients quite a bit is, like, it's when we say we need more money, or we're craving more abundance, it's not like we're gonna, like, be, I think of that scene from DuckTales. Remember that? Like, that guy was, like, scooting through the coins and, like, throwing money up. Like, we don't want to be rolling around on, like, a bed with money. It's the freedom. It's the flexibility. It's the choices.
Yes.
It gives you options.
Right.
It gives you options. Like, we have when money goes into the hands of good people, the world shifts towards the better. And so think an exercise I think is very valuable is think about if somebody receives money who's maybe an evildoer. What are some things that they might go do with that money? Right. And we could make that up in our mind, right? Okay, someone that's pure, someone that's really good, someone that is incredibly hearted, someone that's a giver, that they have abundance. They're receiving abundance. What are they going to do? And so it's like a complete different line in the sand. We need more amazing people being able to generate more good, more energy, more money.
100%. And money also is it's an exposer. You know, if you're a jerk, you have more to be a jerk with. If you have a growth mentality and a giving mentality, then you're going to have more to give with. Money just exposes people for who they are, I think. And if you are a giver, which Jamie, you are a giver, you know, the more that you have, the more you can just help others thrive with. You know what I mean? You can help others grow and expand and then also be giving in the world. You know, philanthropy is a huge thing that, I mean, I love to do when I can give free time or money to different causes. You can do so much when you have that. And that being full circle, going back to, you know, how valuable coaching can be, like it's literally cutting decades into days, right? Using a coach, you're literally taking maybe even 2 lifetimes of education and you're narrowing it down to maybe 6 months or maybe a year. And what you pay for and learn in that time frame can take you, you know, you could end up making 6 figures in a month if you wanted to. You could end up making, you know, exponential what you're thinking or have more reach. If it's not about money for you or expanding in that way, you can potentially have more reach and more influence on people.
And I think this is why working with a coach is so helpful, because sometimes the blind spots, like you may not realize that the reason you aren't being visible to grow your business, if you aren't maybe promoting yourself the way you could be, if you aren't educating yourself or investing enough in yourself, some people have this block of, I am not able to be more successful than my parents. Like people make meaning to things and they're stuck in these archetypes where they don't realize that's even a thing. And so a coach would be able to hear things and see things and then say, let's explore this. That's why I really love the subconscious work. And I'm currently getting 6 new certifications. I'm a lifelong learner. And so I'm diving into hypnotherapy and NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. It's fascinating that 97% of our communication is completely unspoken.
Yes.
It's energetic. So there's so much. Yeah, it's so exciting. My gosh, we could like do a whole nother interview just about that. I think
we're gonna.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that.
Anyway, I hope that people watching this are like, wow, I might need a coach, because yes, you might need a coach.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's actually going to say in the effort and in the vein of giving, anyone that's watching this that would like to reach out for a free discovery call, I love giving my time that way. It doesn't mean that that everybody signs up as a client, but I do love providing a lot of value. I know we've talked about this before, Kat, like giving value, giving as much as you can, and giving time. And so just encouraging anyone that may want to reach out to have a conversation. You can find me in all the show notes has all of my places where I hang out, and we can talk and see if we're a good fit. And I always, even during my discovery calls, like I'm providing value. So
I love that. I absolutely love that. And we'll definitely plug that in the show notes too. My next question for you is like, what are some challenges that you're seeing with maybe your coaching clients or even like in the equine world, you know, with horse owners, with people? What are you seeing in the horse industry right now, just within your role, like that people are facing that maybe they're just stuck or they're just facing these like specific challenges that they don't really see the light at the end of the tunnel? What are you starting to see? Like, are there some trending issues that are happening? And what are those?
Well, I think in the horse industry right now, and I'm sure everyone will nod and agree, the price of everything is going up. I mean, inflation is real. So we're seeing feed and hay and board and like everything is going up. Yep. So I think what that winds up doing to a horse professional, or really anybody that's providing any type of service, is like the travel time, the gas to get to that job, everything is going up. So what do we do in order to continue to provide for ourselves and our families? We need to raise prices. And so I feel like we're in this, and I see you nodding, like we're in this phase where everybody is like slowly raising prices. If we all could just stop, we'd be okay. But there's so many outside forces here. The food is going up. We all need to, like the food for humans. So we all need to feed ourselves. We all need enough money to be able to provide for our families and ourselves. So I think that is a challenge. So when that happens, I think when we're in this like inflationary trend, I think we as business owners can put a lot of pressure on ourselves to succeed. We put a lot of meaning if we don't book a client or we don't get a sale or we don't, and so I think for people starting out in any business, but specifically with the horse industry, it's about being visible. I think people need to work through, again, why we hire coaches. They need to work through some of their own blocks so that they can show the world what they offer, like their clear message. I see a lot of people with so much to offer, but they're kind of all over the place and they're not showing. And I mean, I'll raise my hand. I've been in this trap myself. Like we've talked about this. Yes. Yep. We're human business owners over here too. And so visibility is huge. And the reason why many of us, and Kay, you're so good at this. You're so good at this. You're so visible and you're so good at showing people what you do. It's the only way to grow a business right now in the time that we're in. Totally. You need to have a clear offer, showing people what you do, a call to action where you are asking people to come along on the journey, and then not creating any meaning around it. If a client doesn't sign up or if you don't book a client, you keep going. And one of the best pieces of advice I've heard recently from one of my own coaches is that you need to have a mindset of success even when things suck.
Yes.
If you stop when things suck, you'll never get over the hump. And all of those cool entrepreneurial names that you mentioned, there are such cool stories for each of them. You know what I think about? This is a really inspiring one that I read about recently. The guy that created Ring, the Ring camera, which like all of us most have, right, on our barns and houses now. I don't know if you do know his story at all.
With Shaquille O'Neal?
No, I don't know.
I'll tell you that one later. You tell me what you're at. Yeah.
Well, he was on Shark Tank promoting his product.
Yeah.
And it was called something else. It was not called Ring. It had some other like weird name. They obviously switched it. And all the sharks except one rejected it. They're like, no, I'm passing. And then one of them came back with a deal that he didn't like. And he said, no, thanks. And he then went on to sell. He rebranded, called it Ring, fine-tuned it a little bit, went on to sell it to Amazon for $1 billion. So he now has been a guest host on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
As one of the sharks. So to go from like, oh my gosh, I was rejected, this didn't go the way I wanted it to keep going, to persevere, to have resiliency.
Yeah.
The guy's a multi-billionaire now.
Which is it, and that's incredible. And just to piggyback on that, I watched an interview, Shaquille O'Neal, the basketball player. Everybody knows Shaq.
Yeah.
And if you don't, he's like the biggest NBA star of all time. He, I guess, was having security issues. He had just bought a new house. He, discovered Ring and put it everywhere, all over his house or whatever. And so he was away on business and he saw on his Ring app that there was somebody random there and it wasn't any of his people. And so he was able to then call the right people and have that person arrested, and like his stuff was safe. So in his mind, he was like, whoever created this, I want to invest in. So he ended up giving the person that created Ring several $1 million. And because of that investment, it also made him several $1 million. And then when the business went public, it hit over $1 billion. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you are able to package your specialty and put it out into the world, and then it creates awareness about your specialty, you don't know who's going to be willing to invest in you when you have the correct packaging. And a coach can really help you with that. They can really help you fine tune what to do, how to, overlay your stuff and put it out there and create awareness around it. And like you said, you don't know what opportunities are out there, because even though we're in a recession, and from what I'm hearing from the professionals, we're halfway through it, which means there's another 7 or 8 years of this, unfortunately. It's good to have somebody that can be, like you said, a buddy in your pocket that you can create feedback loops with and soundboard with to help narrow down your specialty and present it to the world. And you do not know who will see it and who might know and to invest.
And it can change, it just can change on a dime. And that's why, being open and I've said this to you before, whenever you shared your like dreams and visions with me, you're always like, this is what I'm doing now, but this is where it's going. I think it's just one of your best attributes, Kay. Like, you're so inspiring to be around. No, it's true. Like, I love being around you because you are like, I'm very particular about the people that I keep close because they say you become the sum of the people that you spend the most time with.
In proximity, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like think about that. If you're spending time with like small-minded, non-dreamers, you'll get a kick out of this. I had posted on Facebook yesterday. I said, trust, the universe is rigged in your favor. I said, trust, the universe is rigged in your favor. It's like a little quote. And someone underneath wrote, and I think he was meaning it as like a little like scroll. He's like dreamers, like kind of like he wasn't saying anything good about it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of counteracted. I typically don't get into it with people back and forth. But like this needed yeah, but this needed like a meme. I was going to pull it up. So underneath, I found a quote that said something about, it's not just about dreaming, it's about doing. Right. And so I said, the world needs dreamers and the world needs doers, but above all, the world needs dreamers who do.
100%.
And so, and so I think, sure, we can make fun of people for dreaming, but every successful person that has created anything and become successful, they're dreaming, they're envisioning, they're talking it through with the people around them. They're putting their plan into action. And you know what? When their action plan falls on its face, they're going back, they're revamping, they're going again. Nobody, successful will tell you that they got it right on the first try. It doesn't work like
right. And in that same vein, what would you say, like, as a coach, what would some advice that you could give to people, like maybe that are just starting out in the horse world, that maybe they have a business idea or maybe they have a skill set, but they don't necessarily know like how to start or like how to execute on, where do I go or what do I do? Like what's a couple pieces of advice that you can give them just starting out in the journey with their business or their idea with horses or really in anything, anybody who's listening to this, what's something that you can offer them for some tips or advice?
That's a great question. So setting clear outcomes is vital. You need to know where you're going to be able to get there. So, if we were to get in a car and say, I'm just going to drive wherever the road takes me today, that's great because that was your goal. You didn't have an outcome. You didn't have a destination, right? So when you're starting out, setting tangible outcomes, something a coach will absolutely help you do.
Yeah.
And then breaking that up into very small action steps. So I'm big on backwards engineering things. So let's look at where you want to be and like, okay, dream big. Let's look at where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, but let's look at where you want to be in 3 months. Let's break that down even smaller. What would you like to accomplish even in the next week that is going to move the needle to help you get to where you want to be by the end of 3 months? And so I like creating short-term goals. I like creating bigger long-term goals. That's what I love about you because I love that. I love hearing you talk about now and where you're going because some of your big goals are like incredible. And I'm like, yes, so good.
Sure.
Speaking really confidently and getting clear on what you offer is huge. If you don't know what you offer, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know from an energetic standpoint, I'm very big on the energetics of entrepreneurship. So if you are unsure, that no matter what words you use, because 93% of communication is energetics and non-spoken, people pick up on that.
100%.
People pick up on the eyes, through the body language.
Yep, 100%.
Learned one thing from horses. Horses don't say a word. They're speaking paragraphs with one little flick of the ear.
Yes, it's true. It's so true.
So humans are like that too. We just need to learn what to look for. The eye movement, the little, the mouth movement, there's so much unspoken here. And then I think another important piece as we're getting started is to call in your support team. Let your family and friends know what you're up to. Let people know what your visions are. If you are going to be a little absent because you are putting your head down and getting to work, it's important to let people know what you're doing and where you're going. And if you have people that are going to naysay or put you down, please know you're not alone. We all have these people that don't believe in us.
We do.
Maybe those are people that we just keep at an arm's reach, and we
Use it as fuel to keep you going.
Haters gonna hate. Haters gonna hate. And sometimes it's hard because they can be our own. It could be our own family. It could be our own best friends. I mean, in business, sometimes strangers are our biggest supporters, which is always so funny because you're like, why isn't my best friend from high school like believing in me? Well, your best friend from high school knows you since you were 4, and there's a lot of baggage there.
It's true. It's so true. It's absolutely.
And insert mom, dad, sister, neighbor, whatever into that. But create a network of support and also step into networking with people that can help lift you up. These kinds of interactions are really crucial.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And we do have a couple, we're wrapping up now, but I do have a couple final questions to ask you. But before I do, I just want to honor you and thank you for coming on. And I love everything that you're doing. I am a huge Jamie fan and believer. And I'm encouraged by how much you have grown in your life and in your journeys with business, but also what you're bringing to people like me, the equine world, the business world in general. I think it's phenomenal. And I want more people to get in touch with you. How can we better support you? And what are you working on right now where if people want to get involved or if they want to reach out to you? I know you have a plethora of things that you're involved with, but what are some things, where can we find you? What are you up to these days?
Absolutely. So you can go check me out. I would love a follow over on Instagram, and even more than a follow, like shoot me a message. Please let me know. I saw you on, the Horse Knowledge Blueprint podcast saying hi. I'm all about building relationships and connections. And so, we see some people with these TikTok and Instagram followings of millions. If they don't really know their people, like that millions means nothing. I'd rather, have 300 followers and know their names and where they live. And, so there's really value in creating connection. So if anybody's like a little side tip, if anyone's ever judging somebody by like the number of their followers, it's not the number of followers. It's the number of actual the depth. It's not even the number, it's the depth of connection. So if you do find me either on Facebook or Instagram or on my website, jamiemackenziewellness.com, please reach out, introduce yourself. I would love to get to know you. I have monthly in-person and online offerings happening all the time. I'm accepting new coaching clients. I am teaching both Reiki, well, more than both, all Reiki level 1, 2, 3, which is master level, and then 3B for people that want to also teach Reiki. So that's always there on the table. I live in northeastern Massachusetts. I offer a really beautiful 2-day immersive animal Reiki training experience. You can see I live in a log home. You get to come to the property. We have access to horses and cats and dogs. And we have a pond on our property. So I always joke around, we might have the occasional turtle or frog. So you really get, We have rabbits, we have chickens, roosters. So we get the whole immersive experience, access to the horses. And I think that's the best way to learn any really horse trade is to work with someone that's doing it. And as a teacher, I like to teach, and then I step back and I watch and I give feedback. And it's, it's like kind of I do, we do, you do. So I know that, people might be watching this at all different times. So I don't want to really go into specifics of offerings, but I do my best to update my website regularly. And so all the offerings are typically there. And if you have any questions, just, don't hesitate to reach out.
Very cool. That's awesome. Thank you for that. And so final questions. This one is kind of my fun question. So it's called the 3 gold nuggets. If everything that you ever did, whether it's business coaching, Reiki, anything you've ever done with horses, if all of that, for whatever reason, the internet exploded and everything disappeared, but you could leave 3 gold nuggets, 3 truths to the equine world or to the business industry or however you want to think of it. 3 pieces of wisdom, 3 truths, 3 things that are true to you that can help others. What would those 3 things be? If everything else was erased, but you can leave 3 gold nuggets behind, what would those be?
Oh, I love this question. So number 1 is be true to yourself and follow your passion. Because if you follow your passion, you will be creating a life of joy. When we are living in joy, even that word enjoy is in joy. When we have joyful work environments, joyful people around us, we are just showing up that much better, and it expands and it multiplies, and we can just really, really reach many more people when we are coming from a place of joy and service. And having said that, step into pivoting. I went to college to become an elementary school teacher, went on and got my master's. I taught for a decade with little third graders. And then once I had my kids, I realized, you know what, I don't want to go back and work for somebody else. I became an entrepreneur and I started learning and training, and even that entrepreneurial journey has shifted. I have, a background I was a childbirth educator, I was a doula. As my passions change, my career changes. I think so many of us are trained and programmed to, graduate high school, get a job, work it for 40 years, retire at 40% of our salary. Like, there's so much more out there, especially today. And so I think that all boils down to following your passion. If you have, and I know some of you watching this are like, oh, I've been yearning to do that, I want to do that. Or when you look at someone and you're like, oh, they get to do that, insert anything you want. Guess what? You get to do that too. You get to do that too. You can make it happen. It's not just for other people. And there is enough. Don't ever think, oh gosh, there's so many of insert the profession out there, right? There's so many equine massage therapists out there. I don't stand a chance. There's so many equine dental, professionals out there. I don't stand a chance. Look at how many Dunkin' Donuts are around. Dunkin' Donuts, there's like 5 on a corner. Look at how many nail salons. They're all thriving. So many restaurants. So yes, there's kind of survival of the fittest, and those that invest in themselves and those that work and grow themselves and have a growth mindset tend to get ahead. I do think, the ones that don't do well die off. But for 1 minute, don't ever let yourself think that just because someone else has it, it's already taken. You can't. You can. So I think I was kind of, maybe that was 1 or 2 tips there. And then I think when we're working with horses, I really would love to end on this. Allow these animals to teach you. They don't speak in English to us. They're the most intuitive, energetically sensitive animals. So next time you're around a horse, slow down, listen, watch. I love just taking a minute to put my hand over my heart, hand over my belly, take a breath, feel your heart syncing with their heart. Horses offer us so much healing. And I know everyone watching this knows that feeling. You walk into the barn, you get smacked with the smell of manure and hay and pine shavings. And for me, I'm like, oh, I may as well have just taken a drug.
Yes.
So we don't need the internet to be able to walk into a barn. These are the smells that like our ancestors smelled. Like when we domesticated horses, and we've been working with these incredible animals. Like, it brings tears to my eyes. We've been working with these animals since the time of the domestication of these horses.
Yes.
And I often think about what it was like prior to that, when people were like watching these amazing creatures that weren't quite domesticated yet. Like, what was that dance like? What was that like and it was trust. It was built on trust. It was built on getting quiet. I can guarantee the first person that domesticated a horse was not acting like a crazed lunatic around that horse.
Right.
Well, they were calm, they were listening, they weren't distracted, they were watching body language. And so I just think tune into these messages and allow, no matter what you're doing, I'm assuming that if you're watching this, you're involved in horses, whether you ride or whether you're in the horse profession in some way, shape, or form, but absorb and receive the healing that these horses bring us. Because every single day you can just sit there and soak it in, and also give it back. Next time you're grooming the horse, like, slow down, watch the hair, watch the fur find its way. There's so much healing and nourishment in the nervous system for them, but also for us. And I think that when we're all operating from a nourished, grounded place, especially as business owners, nothing grows out of frenetic energy. Nothing grows out of, I can't think of like another word for that, but when we're too up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just allow these horses to help you build your dreams. They have messages. You just need to sit back and listen and learn. And they just offer us so much. So special.
Year 3 gold nuggets. I love those truths. Those are pretty awesome. And then finally, my last question is just based around empowerment. So if you were sitting in front of maybe a young person in the horse industry, or maybe even somebody that is at a crossroads, what's an empowering message that you can share with the horse industry that maybe you feel like they need to hear?
I think strive to be the best. Be a lifelong learner. Work with a mentor that is find the best mentor. Don't skimp on that. Find someone that knows what they're doing. Find someone that you energetically match with, and strive to be the best, because I think there are a lot of professions out there that still need to be elevated. And so there, like I mentioned, there's like the bad apples in everything. And I felt this way when I was teaching. If you're not going to show up and be your best, why are you there? Why are you there? And so if you're just starting out, I go back to what I shared earlier, is to become empowered. You need to really be able to own what it is you're setting out to do, and then call in the support. Strive for excellence. Be okay to make some mistakes and fall down. You get up, you brush yourself off, you try again, and believe in yourself. If you don't have belief in yourself, that's going to show up in your business, in your productivity. So if you're someone that is lacking belief, if you're someone who might be fearful of showing up, if you're somebody who is so fixated on perfectionism that you do not take action, get help and assistance and begin to identify these weaknesses and work through it. And then when you're on the other side of that, that's empowerment. Empowerment is even identifying the weaknesses. You don't need to fix them, just knowing what they might be, and then leaning into that growth. It's I don't think there's anything more empowering than that.
I love that. That's great. That was great. I feel so enriched with this conversation. I know other people are going to be as well. So I want to thank you, Jamie, for coming on today. I really think people are going to get a lot of value out of this. And like I said before, I'll make sure to have everything in the show notes so that people can find you and maybe start a conversation with you, or hire you for a coach, or any of your specialties. You have many of them. So they'll be able to investigate that. But thank you for coming on today. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to having you back.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful that our paths crossed and that we get to collaborate and talk, and you're very inspiring as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.